Hello everyone. We had discussed previously the meaning of business and introduction to business, characteristics of business. Today we are going to study various forms of business organization, that is sole proprietorship, partnership, joint Hindu family business, cooperative society and joint stock company. Let us start our discussion with sole proprietorship, the simplest form of business organization, and then move on to analyzing more complex forms of organizations. The first form of business organization, that is sole proprietorship business. Sole proprietorship is popular form of business organization and is the most suitable form for small businesses, especially in their initial years of operation. Sole proprietorship refers to a form of business organization which is owned, managed and controlled by an individual who is the recipient of all profits and bearer of all risk. This is evident from the term itself. The word sole implies only, that means single, and proprietor refers to owner. Hence, a sole proprietor is the one who is the only owner of a business. This form of business is particularly common in areas of personalized services such as beauty parlors, hair salons and small scale activities like running a retail shop in locality. Now let us discuss the features or characteristics of sole proprietorship. The salient characteristics of sole proprietorship form of organizations are as follows. The first characteristic is formation and closure. There is no separate law that governs sole proprietorship. Hardly any legal formalities are required to start a sole proprietary business, though in some cases one may require a license. Closure of the business can also be done very easily. So there is ease in formation as well as closure of business. The second characteristic is liability. Sole proprietors have unlimited liability. This implies that the owner is personally responsible for payment of debts in case the assets of business are not sufficient to meet all debts. As such, the owner's personal possessions such as his or her personal car or other assets could be sold for repaying the debt. Suppose total outside liability of XYZ dry cleaner, a sole proprietorship firm, are rupees 80,000 at the time of dissolution, but its assets are rupees 60,000 only. In such a situation, the proprietor will have to bring in 20,000 rupees from his personal sources. Even he has to sell his personal property to repay the firm's debt. The third characteristic is sole risk bearer and profit recipient. The risk of failure of business is borne all alone by sole proprietor. However, if the business is successful, the proprietor enjoys all the benefits. He receives all the business profit, which become a direct reward for his risk bearing. The next characteristic is control. The right to run the business and make all decisions lies absolutely with the sole proprietor. He can carry out his plans without any interference from others. The next characteristic is no separate entity. In the eyes of law, no distinction is made between the sole trader and his business, as business does not have a separate entity from the owner. The owner is therefore held responsible for all the activities of business. The next characteristic is lack of business continuity. The sole proprietorship business is owned and controlled by one person only. Therefore, death, insanity, imprisonment, physical ailment or bankruptcy of sole proprietor will have a direct and detrimental effect on the business and may even cause closure of business. Now let us discuss various merits or advantages of sole proprietorship business. It offers many advantages. Some important ones are discussed here. The first advantage is quick decision making. The sole proprietor enjoys considerable degree of freedom in making business decisions. Further, the decision making is prompt or quickly because there is no need to consult others. This may lead to timely capitalization of market opportunities as and when they arise. The second advantage, confidentiality of information. Sole decision making authority enables the proprietor to keep all the information related to business operations confidential and maintain secrecy. A sole trader is also not bound by law to publish firm's accounts. So, the information may keep confidential and secured. The third one is direct incentive. A sole proprietor directly reaps the benefit of his or her efforts as he or she is the sole recipient of all the profit. The need to share profits does not arise as he or she is the single owner of the business. This provides maximum incentive to the sole trader to work hard. The fourth benefit is sense of accomplishment. There is a personal satisfaction involved in working for oneself. The knowledge that one is responsible for the success of the business not only contributes to self-satisfaction but also instills in the individual a sense of accomplishment and confidence in one's abilities. The fifth benefit, that is ease of formation and closure. An important merit of sole proprietorship is the possibility of entering into business with minimal legal formalities. There is no separate law that governs sole proprietorship. As sole proprietorship is the least regulated form of business, it is easy to start and close the business as per the wish of the owner. Now, the limitations of sole proprietorship. Notwithstanding various advantages, the sole proprietorship form of organization is not free from limitations. Some of the major limitations of sole proprietorship are as follows. The first one is limited resources. The resources of sole proprietor are limited to his or her personal savings and borrowings from others. Banks and other lending institutions may hesitate to extend a long-term loan to a sole proprietor. Lack of resources is one of the major reasons why the size of business rarely grows much and generally remains small. Limited life of business concern. The sole proprietorship business is owned and controlled by one person. So, death, insanity, imprisonment, physical ailment or bankruptcy of proprietor affects the business and can lead to its closure. The third disadvantage is unlimited liability. A major disadvantage of sole proprietorship is that the owner has unlimited liability. If the business fails, the creditors can recover their dues not from the business assets but also from the personal assets of the proprietor. A poor decision or an unfavorable circumstance can create serious financial burden on the owner. That is why a sole proprietor is less inclined to take risk in the form of innovation or expansion. The another limitation of sole proprietorship is limited managerial ability. The owner has to assume the responsibility of varied managerial tasks such as purchasing, selling, financing, etc. It is rare to find an individual who excels in all these areas. Thus, decision making may not be balanced in all the cases. Also, due to limited resources, sole proprietor may not be able to employ and retain talented, ambitious employees. Though sole proprietorship suffers from various shortcomings, many entrepreneurs opt for this form of organization because of its inherent advantages. It requires less amount of capital. It is best suited for businesses which are carried out on a small scale and where customers demand personalized services. So, we have discussed over here the merits, demerits and characteristics of sole proprietorship. In the next lecture, we are going to cover joint Hindu family business, or it's also called as a Hindu undivided family business. Thanks all for listening me.